Penguin Random House Audio presents The Cubs Way, the zen of building the best team in baseball and breaking the curse. This is the author, Tom Verducci. As an added bonus, be sure to check out the World Series Game 7 lineup card belonging to Cubs manager Joe Maddon, included as a PDF with this program. For Kirsten, Adam, and Ben, with love and pride. Chapter 1. Prelude to 7. 3 hours before the most important game for the Chicago Cubs in more than a century, the desk of Joe Maddon in the visiting manager's office at Progressive Field in Cleveland formed the cluttered tableau of a busy mind. 2 opened, half-eaten, oversized bars of Ghirardelli dark chocolate, 8x10 photos of deceased managers Earl Weaver, Chuck Tanner, and Dick Hauser. All 7 of his color-coded, 2-sided World Series lineup cards, complete with every piece of statistical information he needs in the dugout, not to mention a personal homage to deceased family and friends in shorthand. An iPad Pro with stylus, which he used to design the lineup cards, and a smartphone, which buzzed with a text from one of his hometown buddies back in Hazleton, Pennsylvania. Game 7 of the 2016 World Series between the Cubs and the Cleveland Indians, the 2 teams with the longest championship droughts in baseball, was drawing nigh. Maddon faced 2 major questions heading into Game 7. How could his hitters possibly dent Cleveland starting pitcher Corey Kluber, the ace who had held the Cubs to 1 run over 12 innings in his 2 starts in the series? And what pitching plan could Maddon cook up to get the ball to his closer, Aroldis Chapman, whom he had taxed in the previous 2 games? Maddon began this day with his usual daily meditation session. Then, as he does each game day, he mulled over what to do about his lineup over a cup of cafe Americano. He doodled ideas and batting orders on his iPad with his stylus, and when his lineup was ready, he sent it, as always, to the recipients on his lineup chain: Club President Theo Epstein, General Manager Jed Hoyer, Assistant General Manager Randy Bush, Assistant Director of Research and Development Jeremy Greenhouse, First Base Coach Brandon Hyde, and Director of Media Relations Peter Chase. The distribution of his lineup was done more as a courtesy, less for approval. About Epstein, Maddon said, "He's never vetoed anything. He'll just write back sometimes. Have you thought about this? The last 2 years, they've given me a lot of freedom to do what I think is right, and it's been really enjoyable. We include each other in everything, but when it comes down to on the field, in the dugout, the clubhouse, he gives me all kinds of freedom." Hyde then texted the lineup to the players, as he always did. If the lineup includes a significant change out of the ordinary, such as a position switch or a day off from one of his regulars, Maddon will send a personal text to the player involved to open the door to a conversation. Maddon is an inveterate lineup tinkerer. He started a different right fielder in 3 of the first 4 World Series games: Chris Coghlan, Jorge Soler, and Jason Hayward. But Maddon did not ruminate long over his Game 7 lineup. He stuck with the same one that he used in Game 6, and why not? His team had thrashed the Indians 9-3 while cranking out 13 hits. The key change he'd made for that game was to put designated hitter Kyle Schwarber in the number 2 spot, which moved third baseman Chris Bryant, first baseman Anthony Rizzo, and left fielder Ben Zobrist down 1 slot each to 3 through 5. In Games 1 and 2 in Cleveland, with the designated hitter used in the American League Park, Schwarber had hit 5th. It was the first time he had seen Major League pitching in 201 days after rehabbing torn ligaments in his left knee. Amazingly, within a single series, Schwarber had turned himself into a legitimate threat at the plate after missing virtually the entire season. "Yeah, it changes the whole lineup," Maddon said in his office before Game 7. "I mean, everybody last night. KB didn't mind hitting 3rd. Rizzo didn't mind hitting 4th. Zobrist, etc. They all like having Schwarber slotted in there. It sets up so different for the other side. It really does. Still, the Cubs once again would have to contend with the swirling and spinning pitches of Kluber, who would make his second straight start on short rest. He'd flummox them in Game 1 primarily with a two-seam fastball that headed straight for the left-handed batter's front hip, only to swoop back over the plate just after they dodged out of what they thought was its intended path. Then Kluber had embarrassed them with a cruel game of bait-and-switch curveballs in Game 4. Most of Kluber's curves tracked the strike zone long enough to entice the Chicago hitters to swing, only to veer into the dirt or off the plate at the last second. You could almost hear his curveballs snicker as they pulled their trickery time and time again. In Game 4, the Cubs swung at 49% of Kluber's pitches that were not in the strike zone, the highest chase rate by any team against the right-hander all year. Maddon knew if the Cubs took the same reckless approach against Kluber, they would likely ensure a 108th consecutive season for the franchise without a world championship. What concerned him most was that almost everywhere he looked on his color-coded lineup card, Maddon saw youth. Addison Russell, 22. Schwarber, 23. Javier Baez, 23. Bryant, 24. And Wilson Contreras, 24. Only one other team in World Series history ever started so many players under age 25 in a Game 7, and that team, the Impossible Dream Boston Red Sox of 1967, played at home and lost 7-2 to the St. Louis Cardinals. Now Maddon had to hope that a lineup packed with young hitters could show the discipline it had lacked against Kluber twice previously, this time on the road and with the World Series on the line. "We're just trying to hit the ball up in the zone and trying not to chase spin down," Maddon said. "Those are the two things we're trying to accomplish. The lefties must be on the two-seam comebacker, of course, but we've got to find out early where Kluber is at. This is his third game in 9 days, so you don't know if all that is going to be present today. For me, the biggest thing is for our youngsters to not chase. Zobrist does that. Addison, on a good day, after Addison's day yesterday, I imagine he will not chase spin today. Contreras is in swing mode, and Baez is in swing mode. We've been trying to get them not to do that. Yesterday, if you watched Baez's BP, he almost had 2 hits up the middle. At least he moved the ball. But we've got to get them out of swing mode and not chase spin. So yes, we've talked about it. We are not swinging at spin today. I just think with these kids, give them another year or two. They can hear it, but the training is still taking place." A year or two? The game was just hours away. As for his pitching plan, Maddon knew he would start with Kyle Hendricks, the low-key, low-velocity control artist, and end with Chapman, the hardest-throwing pitcher on the planet. But how could he bridge the gap between them? Starter John Lackey was available, but as Maddon said, the Cleveland lineup, with its heavy dose of left-handed hitters, is a bad matchup for him. Jake Arrieta, who threw 102 pitches only the night before? No, Maddon said. I mean, he's like way out if the game went extra innings. Arrieta was so far out of his thinking that Maddon didn't even list him on his lineup card among his available relievers. The key piece to the planned bridge was another starting pitcher, John Lester, who had had 2 days of rest since throwing 90 pitches in his Game 5 win. But Maddon admitted he might need a second bridge just to get to Lester. The left-hander had been dogged for 5 years by a bad case of the yips throwing to bases. His inability to hold runners, Lester had not even tried a pickoff attempt since July, prompted Maddon to vow he would not bring him into a game with runners on base, a situation he refers to as a dirty inning. If Hendricks is not as sharp, he's coming out and Johnny Lester is coming into that, Maddon said. We need a bridge to Lester, because I'm not going to bring Johnny into a dirty inning. So you have to bridge him with either Mike Montgomery or Carl Edwards to get to John. Give him a chance to...
Sample complete. Ready to continue?